All right, we've estimated this linear program and solved it, and now we want to do a sensitivity report or to look at the Lagrange multiplier or shadow prices. So I come back to Solver, and everything's already solved here. When I click Solve, I pause, and I click on Sensitivity Report, and I run that. So here's our sensitivity report given the Lagrange multiplier just as we saw before. So I'm going to copy this, bring it back to sheet 1, and just paste it here so we can see. So this tells me that the final value for phosphates was 45, and that matches here. 48 and 140, so these are the final values. But the Lagrange multiplier says, and I'll change these to round to 2 decimal places. Again, the Lagrange multiplier is the change in this objective function for a change in constraint. So this is going to tell us how will our cost change if our constraint changes. So for phosphates, if I increase the constraint by 1 unit, 45 to 46, my cost will increase by 44 cents, meaning that if they require more phosphates, it's going to increase my cost by 44 cents. If they want me to increase potash, the amount required from 48 to 49, that's going to increase the cost by $2.67. For nitrates, notice that we have to have 84 units of nitrates, but we're using 140. So if I increase the constraint from 84 to 85, that's not going to change my cost at all because I'm already at 140. So that's how we can get our Lagrange multiplier. But what we want to do in this section is not just run this report, but we're going to run a different report to get a little more information on our Lagrange multiplier. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to estimate solver again, but before I click solve, notice that the solving method is GRG nonlinear. I want to click on this and click on Simplex LP. Okay, it's a different way to solve it, and if I click solve, I'll still get the exact same answer, 9 and 2. But now when I run my sensitivity report, it's going to create a different report, one with a little more information here with our constraints. So I'm going to copy this, paste this over, and now instead of calling it a Lagrange multiplier, it calls it the shadow price. Those terms are interchangeable. They mean the same thing. Notice that the shadow price does not change at all. It's the same shadow price as before. But now what it gives us is an allowable increase and decrease. It tells us under what changes of the constraint will this number be the same or constant. So if I go from 45 to 46, then the shadow price, or Lagrange multiplier, is 44 cents. If I go from 45 to 47, it's the same thing. When I go increase it by more than 18, all right, so there I'm changing it from 45 to 65, right, an increase of 20, then what this tells me is that this number will not be constant for each 20 units. It's only constant for the first 18. Now if I decrease 45 from 45 to 40, that's within my allowable decrease, so that's going to increase or decrease costs by 5 times 0.44 since I'm decreasing the amount required. And so these give me my allowable increase and decrease. Same thing here is as long as I'm 48, as long as I don't go above 60, which is an increase of 12, this number will be constant, will be the same. For nitrates, the shadow price is 0 because from 84 all the way to 140, the minimum amount required is less than the amount I'm using. But once I hit and ask for 141 units required, which is above 56, that's when the shadow price will change. So from now on, we're going to run linear programming. When we run this, we're going to do Simplex LP so that when we run our sensitivity report, it gives us these allowable increases and decreases. It gives us more information on Lagrange multiplier, or what we're now going to call the shadow price.